Blog Talk Radio.
Please take all the necessary precautions to protect your Constitution while listening to this broadcast. 3, 2, 1. Coming to you live via the internet. It's time for Rage Against the Regime. Let's get ready to rumble! Finally, a show for patriots, defending the Constitution and uncovering the truth at every turn. Bringing you exclusive interviews and covering the topics the mainstream media doesn't dare to touch. Call in and join the discussion at 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. And now, here are your hosts, Bobby Who's the Man and Becky Williams. Rage Against the Regime.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Jesus. Bobby, welcome to Rage Against the Regime podcast. I'm your host, Becky Williams, along with my sidekick, Bobby. Hey, Bobby.
Yo, let me speak on there. No. What's happening?
I know, right?
Right. Oh, another
Jesus.
day, another dollar. And, of course, it wouldn't be Rage Against the Regime without technical issues. I tried doing a show the other day, and tried to have my wife, Denise, run the board, and we had technical issues, and I kind of knew that was going to happen already. I mean, it wouldn't be a Rage Against the Regime broadcast if we didn't have technical issues. And then I get screwed at work like I usually do, but today they screwed me really, really good. I get to one of the locations that I deliver to, and they tell me, hey, we've got this emergency delivery that has to go all the way to such and such location, this and that. So instead of my normal 5 p.m. get-off time, who knows what time it's going to be now. So I tried to pass it on to another driver and got yelled at. So.
We had our guest on, and the board's acting ignorant again, but he dropped off. I need him to call back, Bobby.
I'm sure he will on his own.
There he is. Hang on. Let me see if I can get him open.
Okay.
There you go, Bobby. Say hello.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, what's going on?
What's happening, man? What's happening? For those of you that don't know, today our guest is young Gamin. I happen to be turned on to Gamin from our good friend Battle Cat, Lena, a.k.a. Battle Cat. She posted one of your videos on Facebook one day, and she said, you got to get this guy listed, you got to check him out, listen to the truth that he speaks and everything else. So, usually whenever she tells us about somebody, we know that they're good to go. I went and watched the video. I was very impressed in, everything that you were talking about and everything else. So here we are today, inviting you to come on and, bring some of that knowledge and some of that truth to, our listening audience, and welcome aboard, brother.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. My co-host is Becky Williams. Say hello, Becky.
Hey, it's a pleasure to meet you, brother. I watched your video, and you tell the truth. And you did it in a very truthful and concise verbiage was used. I think you put out a great message, and I think that the people need to hear what you have to say. We have a very broad listening audience, and some of our people that we have formed coalition with or a network with are simulcasting you, brother. So you should have thousands and thousands listening to you today. So here's your platform. We want you to speak your mind. I want to remind the listeners of one thing. You call in, you can talk to our brother, young Gamin here, and if you have any questions, bring them. Anybody that calls in with any disrespect, I'll disconnect your line real quick. So we don't want any kind of negative input. If you're here to ask them questions or to share some information with them, you're welcome to call in to 929-477-3565. And young Gamin, the floor is yours, brother. Welcome to Rage Against the Regime.
I appreciate that. It's a pleasure to be on y'all broadcast. I appreciate Bobby for inviting me on. And I just wanted to start by saying, you know, me personally, myself as a black man in America and all my experiences from my adolescence all the way up until today, you know, I found myself in a whole lot of precarious situations in life, you know, especially dealing with law and dealing with a lot of the wrong crowds, you know, that I made the choice to hang around with and got myself in situations that, you know, at the end of the day, I couldn't really blame nobody for my actions but me. But what I, you know, came to realize, you know, over the last, you know, several years or so is that me being a black man, I had to wake up and take accountability for all the poor choices and all the mistakes that I have made in my life. And when I began to see that and when my eyes began to get open to that, you know, the fact that I was the one that was solely in control of the choices I made, the people who I chose to hang around, whatever I chose to do, you know, it made me a better man to take accountability for the mistakes I made, because once you become aware that you are the one making the mistakes, then you can do something about, you know, trying to correct the mistakes that you are making. But as long as an individual continues to keep, you know, an attitude or a mentality where he feels that all the poor choices, all the mistakes, all the bad things that happen in his life is somebody else's fault, that allows that individual more room, more time and space to continue to fuck up and, you know, continue to blame other people for the mistakes that they're making instead of holding themselves accountable. And so when that, you know, it was like a switch that went on, you know, in my mind. And once I realized that, you know, it was easy for me to just come to the conclusion that, look, you know, a lot of things that go on, especially in the black society, urban cities or whatever, a lot of these things that go on, you can't just sit around and try and blame white people and say that white people are the reason that, you know, we sell drugs. White people are the reason that, you know, I decide to go loot and tear down and rob or destroy somebody's property. You know, time is out for trying to blame somebody else for the actions that you make in this life, because I was listening to a broadcast right before the show came on that you all had placed on the internet, and he was talking about, you know, standing before God. You know, on the day of judgment, not one of us is going to be able to stand before God and blame anybody else for anything that we've ever done. The same thing when you go to the grave. Can't nobody else climb in your casket with you and go to the grave with you. You got to get in that casket yourself. You got to stand in front of God yourself and be held accountable at the end for all the choices that you made here on this earth. And it's just like he made a reference to, you know, the garden. When Eve and Adam was in the garden, you know, when Adam messed up, you know, he tried to blame the woman. But, you know, God wasn't trying to hear that. You know, he made Adam be accountable for the mistake he made and told him, look, I told you not to bite the fruit. And so since he bit it, you know, he had to be punished and dealt with. And it's the same thing that's going on in our society we see today. You know, I always say that there's a lot of minorities that's been in America for years, but the one thing that most minorities understand that the black race just can't seem to understand or pull together is unity. That it takes unity, it takes numbers. Numbers is strength. And when you have those strengths, when you have that strength, when you have those numbers and unity on your side, then you can get things done politically. And when you can get things done politically, then you can make people listen. Until then, you'll be just like this Black Lives Matter movement. You'll just be bomb rushing people's podium and stages and making a lot of loud noise, just like I said in the video about Hillary Clinton. You know, them individuals caught her in New Hampshire and they bomb rushed her, and they were just demanding answers about police brutality and, you know, some of the policies that Bill Clinton has signed that, you know, caused a lot of black people to be incarcerated. Now, one time during their bombardment of Hillary Clinton at that time, that they stand up and say, well, look, we want to know, well, what can you do about the black urban communities, about black people killing each other? You know, how can we hold these people accountable for the actions that they commit? They didn't bring forth no kind of solution, you know, as far as trying to roll out a plan or for some kind of program or anything that can help change the way we see society going today. Only thing that we're concerned about is police brutality. And that right there must stay at the forefront of what we're dealing with, because like I said in the beginning, as long as people are allowed room and space to blame others for their actions, and people will continue to make all kind of bad choices and not want to be held accountable for what they're doing. And so at the end of the day, when I took a stance and decided to be held accountable for the choices I was making, for the choices I made in my life, it becomes clear that you can't blame white supremacy. You can't try to say that Joe Biden. You can't try to say that George Bush. You can't try to say none of these people are hiding behind bushes, making you jumping out, making you doing things that, is deemed unlawfully in the society that we live in. And so at the end of the day, my message to, basically anyone listening, but especially black folks, you got to take accountability for the mistakes that you make, for the choices you make. Quit blaming other people for your mistakes and your fuck-ups in life. It's nobody else's fault that you decided to drop out of school, that you decided to have a child at an early age, that you decided to do any of the things you've done but your fault. And that's who you need to look at in the mirror at the end of the day and hold your own self accountable for the choices that you make. I just like to start and say that.
Well,
brother, I appreciate
a lot
that.
of good points. Oh, you bring up a lot of good points.
No, go ahead, brother.
No, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, Becky. But,
No, I just said I agree with him.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I agree with everything he says. One thing that bugs me that, and I don't mean no disrespect, so I'll apologize now if this comes off sideways, but I'm kind of sick of hearing about things that happened 600 years ago. Okay? I don't even know if my family, my ancestors, or anything had anything to do with anything that happened in history. But it seems like people are trying to dwell in the past instead of moving into a bright future, and we all become one. Okay? They dwell in the past, and they make it seem like, okay, whatever happened 600 years ago should be placed upon the people right now, and we should be held accountable right now for actions that happened 600 years ago. And to me, that's not right. I think that if they, if they would come together and actually come together as one, I guarantee you that Washington, D.C. would crap their pants. If all of us came together, okay, all races, creeds, colors, no matter what your, sexual preferences, whatever, okay, if we were all standing as one and walked up to them and said, we are together now, we are one, the government would have no idea what to do. They're causing this racial diversion because they can't get us in other areas. So that now they came up with the idea, you know what, this is the way that we can get them. Let's cause racial tension. Let's get them to argue over race, argue over flags, argue over this and that. While that's going on, Iran is getting a deal, to be able to do weapons, and everything that's gonna really affect us here real soon. And now, and these guys are able to make videos. Okay, I forgot his name, King, whatever his name is. He's able to make
King
videos
Noble.
and post it. Yeah, he's able to make videos and post it on YouTube, post it here, post it there on Facebook. That same thing that Farrakhan's talking about. 10,000 people, they want to kill Whitey, they want to kill this, they want to kill that. I don't understand how they can do that and get away with it. I mean, I understand now, but I don't see how they can do that and get away with it. And, it's just a bad thing all the way around. I mean, this is going to turn out to be something really, really bad if we don't come together as one and have people very educated and intelligent like you that speak the truth, with people that of all walks of life, and let it be known, look, we can do more things together than we can separately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bobby, I need to add something to that if you two don't mind. The government the government, which is a foreign entity operating as the government, the coup d'etat has been established, have literally used our black brothers and sisters to death and caused the death of others through the hatred, propagating a lie that has been taught to society, the guilt beaten into the whites, the blacks believing that they've been mistreated more than any other. I'll be honest with you, Bobby, I'm 1/4 American Indian, Chickasaw. My grandmother was full-blooded. Y'all want to talk about some mistreatment? My people are living in FEMA camps they call reservations. My people were slaughtered whenever this country was discovered, and their prosperity, their land, their lives were lost and taken away from us. So my point is, we've all suffered. There were more white slaves brought into America than there were ever black slaves. And it's a lie. They have used our brothers and sisters to death all across the board, whites and blacks alike, with this racial divide. And they're using the ones that are attacking and assassinating police officers and pillaging and burning the streets. Many of them are being paid. Many of them are lawless people who have been emboldened to be lawless without repercussion. In other words, right now the government has demonized the police department. Truth of the matter is, 2 times plus more white lives were lost to the hands of police officers. Why are the whites not up protesting and burning the cities down like this culture that we're seeing with the Black Lives Matter and Farrakhan calling for 10,000 to stand up and exterminate the whites, and the thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of videos of black mobs picking out, some white people on the street just because they can and stomping their friggin' head in. I mean, this has got to stop. And Young makes a very, very, very good point. It's about accountability. It's about admitting when you've made bad choices and changing your direction in life. But unfortunately, this has got a lot of weight behind it. We've got the DOJ who has stepped up to further the issues and actually started these issues. You simply cannot go in and hate an entire race for the injustice of stupid people or police officers who are lawless. There are bad police officers, but there are many more good than there are bad, and no race has suffered more than anyone else. And you're a young black man, and I'm going to ask you a question in all honesty. If you can help me understand this, it will help my rage for this situation. You understand? It will help me understand and not be so angry. But we hear, Whitey is oppressing the blacks. We're the reason that everything goes wrong for them. They dominate Hollywood. They dominate sports. They're dominating music. They have they have the Black College Fund. They have affirmative action. They have the NAACP. They have all black colleges. All of those things we can't do as whites. And we keep hearing this white privilege. Brother, as a black man, as a black young man, can you please explain to me where we're privileged or where that comes from? Because I certainly can tell you this, we're discriminated against in those areas. We can't have a white college fund. We can't have a white entertainment channel. We can't have, white-only programs to start up business or preference to get into college because we're white. We can't do any of those things. Can you help me maybe understand why that mentality and when is enough going to be enough, brother?
Well, what you really got to take a look at is black people got to look at the fact that back during when slavery and all those things first began to take place, they got to look at the fact that it was their own people that sold them into slavery. The white people back at that time didn't even know anything about the shores of Africa or how to even navigate the terrain. It was black people that brought white people into the terrains of Africa, took them into the inner, deeper parts of Africa, and actually sold their own kind into slavery. So black people, for one, need to go back and do their own history and learn that their own kind put them into slavery, one, if you want to talk about that. Okay, two, you got to look at the attitude of what we just spoke about, accountability. Most black people like to act like savages, and then they want to hold other people accountable for their actions because you got to look at the victimization mentality. Ever since we've been over here in the United States of America, and we want to go back to the time where slavery was prevalent in America, we suffer some mistreatment at the hands of slave masters and things of that nature. We must be real and admit that slavery did exist. But even in the midst of slavery still existing, we had a long time period since that time up until now And you can't sit back and convince me that it's your slave master's fault from way back in the slave days that you can't go to the library, pick a book up and read it. You can't convince me that it's your slave master's fault from back in the day that you can't go to your local educational center and try to apply for a GED. You can't convince me any of those things that it's a slave master or some white person's fault as to why you can't do these things. And so when black people look at their history in this country and realize that, you know, we have been in slavery and things like that, they like to hold on to that as a crutch and use that as a reason as to why, you know, they feel they should act out, you know, and not to be held accountable for what they're doing. And that's what you see in a lot of these urban inner-city communities when you see these young black kids vandalizing these properties, burning down CVS's, tearing up police cars, throwing things at the police. It's this victimization mentality that runs deeper than you could ever imagine. And the reason I know that and can speak on that and stand on it is because I was one of those black men at one time. It's where I thought everything in this world revolved around color, white, black. You know, if you were white from the areas and neighborhood that I was from, you were looked at like you was a police informant, or you were looked at like a snitch. You were definitely looked at like you didn't belong. And so, you know, with this kind of attitude and thinking that's permeating throughout the urban inner-city community, this has been a trend that's been going on for years after years after years after years. That's why I said in one of my videos that we got to break the cycle. We got to break the chain somewhere down the line. We got to take responsibility and believe as a people, you know, that we can become something, that we can make a stand for something in this country other than dunking a basketball, other than running a damn football and seeing how fast we can get to the end zone before we get tackled, other than our black women wanting to be on World Star Hip Hop and wanting to be on House of Wives of Atlanta and doing all of these, you know, foolish TV shows that's making the black women and the black race as a whole look bad. And see, once you get an understanding of just how deep black people carry that slave torch, that victimization torch, it becomes real easy to understand why they act out the way they do, why they act like savages. It becomes real easy to understand why they won't read, why they won't educate themselves on anything that has anything to do with spirituality. They won't read, they won't educate themselves on anything that has to do with economics. They won't read or educate themselves on anything that has to do with politics. This is why you get 90-some% of most blacks going to the poll to vote in a president like Barack Obama. Just because they consider him to be black, they, you know, would say to themselves, well, I don't need to study this man or read up on this man or learn anything about him. I'm just going to vote for him because he's black. And that's the way black people think. But if you go read any of Obama's books, see where he had a book that he wrote called Dreams from My Father, you just go read some passages in his book and you will see that this man is not for black people, for one. You will see that for two, he hates America. He always has hated America because he follows and lives after his father's principles. His father hated America. And when you read his book, you will find that out. The book is called Dreams of My Father. But what I really wanted to say was this to try to, you know, give a good twist on what you were saying. Okay, let me just say this right here. I'm a black man, and last school year, my son was slapped by a white teacher. This teacher's every bit of 200. This teacher's every bit of 250 pounds. My son ain't nothing but like 35 pounds. I know she smacked my son because when he came home, he had all kind of jewelry and all kind of slap marks and cuts on his face, and I was pissed the hell off. I knew she smacked him. My wife knows she smacked him. And so it's been an ongoing fight up until this point. But I'm bringing this story into the picture to say this. I went to the district attorney. I went to the chief of police. I spoke to every lieutenant. I spoke to the FBI. I spoke to the ACLU. I spoke to the NAACP. Don't you know every last one of these individuals tried to tell me, no, I don't think she hit your son, that I think he done that to himself. Even after being told these things by the district attorney sitting in his office with his officers and his assistant attorney, after he told me that he wasn't going to bring no charge against this woman, that I need to go a civil suit, I didn't leave out of his office and go to CVS and burn it down. I didn't leave out of his office and go rally up people to start burning up police cars. I didn't rally up people to go burn up the neighborhood and start causing all kind of mischief and trouble. You know what I did? I handled it the proper way. I showed that you don't have to deal with situations like this through violence. You have to just continue to push, and you have to continue to go the legal way, and you have to continue to fight it that way. But I say that to say all of my experiences in my life as a black man, you would think at the end of the day, if anybody wanted to stand and scream victimization or victimology or that the white people owe something, you would think it would be a brother like me, a brother from the hood, a brother that's been in the streets, a brother that, that's seen a lot of my friends die, a brother who got a black mama who, shows that she don't care nothing for me or my family. You would think if somebody would scream victimization, it would be somebody like me. But the fact that I don't scream victimization and that I tell black people that you got to get off your ass, quit blaming white people for what the mistakes that you're making, it just shows and proves at the end of the day that it's not white supremacy's fault. The reason we can't keep ourselves in check with our emotions, the reason we can't read, the reason we can't go to the library, the reason we can't stop looking at the world from a segregated point of view, it's all on us. It's all up to us as black people to get past slavery, to start understanding that we control our own destiny, and to start understanding that we got to learn to accept other ethnicities in this country, because I said in my videos and I say it again, I got a white mom, okay? My wife is mixed, and her mother is white. And her mother tells me all the time how much she loves me. She even kisses me, and I kiss her back, and so if white people are so against us, why does this woman tell me that she loves me? Why does she show me more love than my own black mammy ever showed me in my entire life? And that's why I say y'all victimization cry is dead. It's not white people's fault that y'all niggas want to burn up CVS's, loot police cars, and act a fool. It's the black community's fault for not standing up and owning up to the ills and responsibilities that first some of their parents make stupid-ass decisions, having more kids than they know they can take care of. Some of the daddies lay down and have multiple babies, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, and can't take care of 2 or 3 of them that he got. And these are the problems that the black community is facing. When they begin to realize this and stand up and realize that ain't nobody making you lay down and have sex with somebody but you doing it yourself, we can become move ahead a lot quicker and begin to bond with a lot of other ethnicities, and we can begin to become one, because at the end of the day, whether you're black, whether you're Hispanic, Indian, Native American, Mexican, Latino, we got to realize that our enemy at the end of the day is not each other, it's the government.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Bobby?
Yep, absolutely.
What do you say, brother, man? That was a powerful statement. Very powerful.
Yeah, powerful. Yep, absolutely.
Man, he gave me chill bumps. He really did. I have a mixed family. And the situation that we're all being put in is this. There's a lot of ignorant people in every race out here right now, and there's a lot of anger going on. A lot of people are tired. And this government that's paying the likes of Farrakhan and Quanell X and D-Ray now on the payroll, and Nocturnus and the Action Network, Nation of Islam, and now we hear that the Muslim Brotherhood has joined, La Raza has joined, and they all want to exterminate the whites. And here's my problem. I got black babies. I'm white by all counts. They're going to look at me. I'm blonde-headed, blue-eyed. Even though I'm a quarter American Indian and I have a roll number, my birth certificate says white. So I'm white. But I have black babies. I got a black son-in-law, ex-son-in-law. My daughter's new fiancé is half Spanish, half black. I've got half-caste grandchildren. I've got 11 total now, because he brings to the family 6 of his own. And my black children are being as endangered by all of this madness and bullshit as my whites are, my white grandbabies. I have a black godson and a black godchild, his sister. I have 2 godchildren. She has a young baby. He calls me G-Chick. He's black. And my children are not of that thug mentality. My grandbabies are not of that thug mentality that we're seeing across the board. And we're seeing white thugs, if you will, join this movement. I don't know how ignorant one can actually be that would support a movement that's calling for the genocide of your own race, and you're out there thinking you're going to be immune to the destruction that comes from it. They're foolish at best, but, we just have to call them ignorant. But I'm angry because some pissed-off white person doesn't know my babies, doesn't know my son-in-law, doesn't know that they're good people and that the color shouldn't be the mark of hatred, but it's being built up like that. So, see, my black babies are in danger. My white babies are in danger. And that puts me in a very precarious situation. In fact, it puts me in a situation where I want to rip the heads off of the leadership of these movements because they're putting my entire family in danger. How you say you have a mixed family too? You must certainly feel that same way.
Well, you know, when you look at the Nation of Islam, the NOI, Louis Farrakhan, you really have to tie him into the same category that you tie Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and all of those guys into, because, you know, if Farrakhan was truly out for the black race and not just the benefit of himself, he would be pushing black people to be better than, you know, constantly telling them over and over, oh, we need a race war, oh, we need to march to Washington with 10,000 strong, we're going to tear this motherfucking place up. I mean, come on now. We already know if black people want to sit back and say that, you know, everything is white people's fault, look at the violence, look at the aggression, look at the hate, the bitterness that already exists in the hearts of most black people in America. Why would you put fuel or why would you add fire to that gasoline and tell them to stand up and pick up a let's exterminate white people attitude? That's why I said in my video, you're not going to get anything out of that but a race war. You're going to have a lot of people that's dead. And at the end of the day, I used to be a part of the Nation of Islam, so I know all about, you know, their inner workings, what they believe, how they became to get to the point where they at today. And a lot of what their foundation was built off of was color. If you go back and study back in 1939 or so, if you do the research on a guy named Wallace Fard Muhammad, he had the skin complexion of a white man, and he supposedly had a black father, and he supposedly had a white mother. And the reason he was supposed to be birthed by a white mom was so he could get through the shores of the western part of the United States without being detected or deemed a black man. And so when he got over here, he supposedly went around to black people's houses and, you know, was enlightening and informing them that they had other black people on other parts of the earth other than the United States of America, because according to the studies, we believed that we only existed in America at the time. We didn't know anything about Africa. So he came with this doctrine of Islam, and he met Elijah Muhammad, and they began to open up temples. And somewhere along the line, up during there, you know, Malcolm X became involved in the picture. And what Farrakhan hasn't owned up to this day, if you really, really want to be technical about Farrakhan and his stance on blacks, Malcolm X was one of the greatest things black people could have ever encountered at the time, because Malcolm X was a street hustler. He was a pimp named, I believe they called him Detroit Red. And he was a pimp. And, you know, after he went to prison, you know, he had his conversion to Islam. But I'm speaking on Malcolm X because Malcolm X had, you know, I think they called it a pilgrimage to Mecca. And when he went to Mecca, he went over there and saw that white folks were praying with all other nationalities, and he looked at everything from a different perspective. And when he came back to the United States of America, his whole attitude on the white man being a devil had changed. He had told the Nation of Islam that he no longer considered white people as devils and that he wanted to teach that new doctrine. But before he could ever open his mouth to get a chance to even spread his new understanding, to spread his insight that he gained when he went to Mecca, he was automatically set up to be assassinated by, you know, members of the Nation of Islam, his own color, his own kind, and Farrakhan had a big hand in Malcolm X's assassination. So if black people want to try to blame somebody for the downfall, they could start by pointing their fingers at Farrakhan and ask him why did he have one of his own brothers who was actually out for the betterment of the black race assassinated. That's one thing black people could do, and I just want to say this as well. I'm going to just throw this out there to people of other ethnicities, and, you know, you can take it as a joke or you can take it being serious. If you want to, you can lobby to have the country divided and have Negroes have their own country, own 9 acres and a mule or whatever it is they claim the government owes. You give them about a good 10, 20 years and they all be dead because Negroes can't work together and can't even run a shoestring or a lemonade stand without one thinking one going to get 20 cents more than the next person. And so we can blame each other for all the things that's wrong with us internally as a race and as people. But like I said, and I'll keep saying it again, until you take accountability for what you do, for what you say, and how you live your life, you're going to always continue to make mistakes. And so I'm glad that I got a mixed family. I welcome all the challenges that society is willing to bring my way, for me having a white mom, for my wife being mixed or whatever anybody want to throw my way. I'm willing and ready to accept all challenges, because I'm going to say this, and I say it on my channel. This is my thing. I say fuck color. Whoever think like me is my brother. And it's just simple as that at the end of the day.
Amen.
Brother,
you brought up,
amen, brother.
Bobby, he brought up some interesting points that we covered on the show just a couple of weeks ago. And since he wasn't privy to that show, I want to share some information with him. Brother Gamin, you made some really, really interesting points there, and you're correct. After the Civil War, there were reparations given. There was segregation by property or opportunity, and the blacks were given the opportunity with property for prosperity, with education and schools and school books to prosper, and they failed miserably. Every area that they segregated to, they could not prosper. They could not form a functioning community that had a forward perpetual motion of prosperity. And so it interested me. So I wanted to take a closer look at the culture and what happened after the traumas of the war. And the census that I found concerning black violence dated back, it started in 1890, and they started doing a census on incarcerations of all people, not just blacks, but it was separated, obviously, when they started doing the census. And it showed that there were numerous numbers of black individuals that became imprisoned due to violence. And the census takes you from 1890 to present. And the fact of the matter is, if you did the study and you read the information, you understood that it wasn't by oppression, but it was by self-action. And it's not because they're profiled by the police department. It is, unfortunately, history has conditioned people in general to view certain actions unacceptable in society. And whenever they grow to the number that we see today in the impoverished neighborhoods of unsuccessful individuals in the black community, and we have it in the whites, we have it in the, in the Hispanics, but for some reason the violence seems to be greater in the black community. And one would have to question, why is that? Why is it that every opportunity, every hand up, every exception, even being given things that others are denied, or things are being taken away from one race in order to appease another race. For instance, you talked about the black kids not excelling in school in the area of education. So what our government has done to the black community, and this is a travesty, it really is they're basically saying they're too damn stupid to get into college if we have to make them achieve the same scores as everybody else. So here's what our government has done in the Board of Education. The blacks are required to score the lowest test scores for entrance into college. The Hispanics are just above that, and the whites are just above that. They have to do a little bit better. And then the Asians, God bless them, they have to have the best test score to get in college. Why would our government and the Board of Education do that? Because they have to keep us separated. They have to, in order to have the society as a whole accept policies and procedures and lawless law that is being put into place by special interest groups who make money, like Al Sharpton and his Action Network, or Farrakhan and his network, or any of the other groups that may be out there, white groups, black groups, Hispanic, the La Raza movement. In order for us to accept what is being done to keep us separated by Congress, then they simply give to one and take away from the other and say that they're doing it because we have to give them exception because they've been mistreated or, all the other bullshit they've blown up our ass. But see, to me, what they're saying is that my black children are dumber than my Mexican children, or they're dumber than my white children, or we're not as smart as the Asians. And I just think that's wrong. I think that if we as a society come together as a whole, like Bobby stated and you've stated, to become one front of just human beings, and we demand that the minority button is moved, all special interest groups go away, the division begins to mend itself, and people have to actually assert themselves effectively because we take away their ability to thrive without effort. In other words, we take the entitlements away. We wean them off of them. You work 4 hours a day if you're on welfare, and the other 4 you go to school or you get a trade. And then in 1 year, you should be well able to take care of yourself and your family, and you're off welfare benefits, and you have to contribute effectively to society. And I believe that that's the only way that we can mend this divide. We're still going to have idiots. We're going to have violence. Because people are people, and it's a melting pot. But how do you feel about that, brother?
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say this, and I know people ain't going to like it, but I know black women that's been on welfare every bit of 40 years, been on welfare every bit of 40 to 43 to 47 years, some of them I know. And this is real. I'm not lying when I say this. I know black women that's been on welfare every bit of 40 to 42 to 43 years. And that is sad. And the reason that's sad because, for a person to be on some kind of support system that long, that many years out of their lives without being able to stand up and figure out something they can do to separate themselves from the system, that's just so sad. It really is on many levels because it creates such a handicap in that individual to where they just become so complacent that all they can rely on is the system. And it's so sad. I see it almost like around me every day. I see it, I see how these women treat their kids. I see how these women, let their children listen to all these rap songs, these love songs, these sexual songs, these songs about drugs. This stuff I see every day where I'm from, and what I learned as a black man is just because I see these things, I don't have to partake in these things anymore. And so people make comments on my channel and they say things about, my personal life that I know they don't know or have no idea what they're talking about. And for one, I don't have to explain anything to anybody because I know myself. And so with that being said, it just is what it is at the end of the day. I know grown women that's been on welfare for 40 to 42 years, and that's just pitiful. How can a person stay on welfare that long before the government eventually steps in and says, look, if you're going to be on this program this long, you got to try something else because, you probably taking up space for somebody else that really need it, or somebody else's child might need the assistance that you've been receiving for the last 10 to 15 to 20 years. I think it's a real shame. And I think that the government should stand up and take some kind of stance and step in these people's lives. I'm not saying so much to step inside their lives and take away their privacy, but something needs to be injected for us, whether it just be drug testing or whether it be schooling, making sure that they keep maintaining a good grade while they own assistance if they need it. The government needs to step in and do something because just to allow a person to mooch off the system for 42 years, 43 years, and still not advance for their own self or become anything in society that can be contributory to society, that's just a sad deal all the way around the board. So, at the end of the day, I just feel the government is really responsible for that kind of action when they allow someone to use the system for 43 years without no kind of intervention.
You know what?
I agree.
I want to point out that, every time you hear Farrakhan talk, Shabazz, any of them guys, they always talk about how the white man is bringing them down, but they never talk about the black-on-black crime, the black-on-black violence, and everything else, which is the true problem in this country, okay? It is the true thing that's going on and what's killing the most blacks. And, they're fighting over territory, they're fighting over drugs, gang violence, so on and so forth. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But You never hear Farrakhan own up to that, Shabazz or any of these other people. And, they're always saying, the white man's bringing us down, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. You're trying to blame somebody, but why are you not talking about what the true issue is? And that's the thing that I don't understand.
Well, if Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, Cordell West, or Michael Dyson, or Al Sharpton, or the new Black Panther Party fuck-up, if any of these people quit the crowd victimization, then they won't have a job. If Louis Farrakhan, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson would have stood up years ago in the 80s or the 70s and told black people to take accountability for their actions, these men wouldn't be where they at today. This is a job for them. This is why they show up every time some black teenager get his damn head blowed off, or every time they show up when some teenager gets shot for not complying with the cops. After the cops stand there and clearly say, freeze, put your hands up. They want to argue with the police. They want to put their hands back in their pockets. They want to turn around and try to run. And then they trying to figure out at the end of the day, but why was this guy killed? It's just like this whole Freddie Gray incident. Let's be real about it. This dude was a dope seller in his own community, walking outside of his house every day with packages of dope in his pocket. Then when the cops get on his ass because they probably familiar with him, he want to take off and run. Now, what took place in that van and what took place in the process of him being apprehended shouldn't have happened. If they did, or if they are responsible for injuring his spinal cord and killing him, they should have never done that. But at the end of the day, like I said in my video, I'm more worried about a black man trying to take my life than I'm more worried about some police officer jumping out of his cruiser and throwing me on the ground and telling me to freeze. Because you know why? I ain't out there selling drugs. I ain't out there shooting up the community. I ain't out there doing things and participating with people that I don't have no business doing. So a cop jumping out and trying to chase after me and kill me, that's my last thought. I'm more concerned when I walk down the street about some nigga, how he going to think I'm looking at him, or how he going to look at me, or what he going to say out his mouth at me. And this is what I can testify to and know because I'm around black, savage-ass Negroes every day. And so when I'm around these Negroes, I have to keep my radar up. I have to make sure what I'm saying out my mouth is calculated. I have to make sure when I look at them, I'll make sure that I'm being a man about it and, not looking at them in a way that they might think, what this nigga looking at me like that for? Because as stupid as it sounds, and believe it or not, a lot of these motherfuckers kill each other every day because somebody look at them the wrong goddamn way. Kill each other every day because somebody's Jordan's cleaner than theirs off. Kill each other every day over stupid-ass shit that has nothing to do with white supremacy, but has everything to do with fucking idiocy. And that's just what it is at the end of the day. Black people's idiocy is not white people's fault. It starts with the parents, and what the parents feel that they should teach their kids at home. And just like I say, you got all these black dysfunctional mammies riding around in these damn cars and listening to all these damn R&B rap songs with kids 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And then you look outside and you wonder why the little girl shaking her ass and she ain't but 6 years old. And then you wonder by the time she's 12 and 11, she got a fucking child already and she on welfare. And the mama act like she okay with the shit because there'll be another check coming inside the house. I mean, if black people want to point the fucking finger, let's just keep it real. Because I'm going to tell y'all about the stupid-ass shit y'all do all the time. I ain't going to put no sugar on it. I ain't going to code it. And the same thing I tell people that come on my channel talking stupid. Prove what I'm saying wrong. If it's so much for the black community, especially guys that's from the suburbs, kill me making these videos about how tough they are and about how concerned they are about the ghettos and about how concerned they are about young black kids and how concerned they are about young black women and all of the stuff that we do. These stupid motherfuckers make videos nonstop on YouTube year after year after year after year, attacking other people, trying to call other people a coon. The definition of coon is an uneducated person. So all y'all motherfuckers is calling other people coons, that means y'all coons because that means that y'all are uneducated about what y'all trying to call another person to coon over. Because we know it's a fact that black on black crime is the reason a lot of murders take place in the ghetto. We know it's a fact that black mothers in the ghetto are strung out on welfare and feel like they can't do better for themselves. We know it's a fact that blacks kill each other every day in this country over gang territory. We know it's a damn fact that black people got treacherous ways, and other races got treacherous ways as well, but you don't see other groups of people constantly being killed in mass numbers year after year, month after month,
day after day, and then won't sit back and try to say that it's the chief of police fault that person decided to go kill somebody last night. That's bullshit. It was that person's fucking fault. That person needs to be dealt with. That person must receive justice. It's just like I say, that guy that shot that little girl in the bed while she was doing homework in St. Louis. I hope they catch his black ass, and I hope they fry his ass, and I hope he never see the light of day. And if I ever commit such an act, may the same punishment be, worthy. May I be worthy of the same punishment. I'm not gonna stand up here and say that others should be punished for something they do, and I commit the same thing, and I don't think that I should be punished. But at the end of the day, if you really want to get a grasp on black people and how they truly act, you got to look at the victimization mentality and how it runs deeper than you could ever imagine. And as long as you got people like Farrakhan, as long as you got the Jesse Jacksons, as long as you got the Michael Irv Dyson, constantly telling Negroes that they victims, all you're going to ever see is dysfunctionality. You're going to see it on every part of the map that you find black people at. You're going to find dysfunctionality. And until black people own up to the fact that they dysfunctional, to the fact that daddies wasn't no good, that most of them daddies ain't no good, I mean, it's just what you're going to get. You're going to have a corrupt society. You're going to have an inner city that's full of drugs, full of violence, and just full of a bunch of sorry motherfuckers that want to keep blaming everyone else for the stupid-ass choices they make. I can't say it enough. And so all you dudes that come on my page trying to argue with me, especially y'all guys from the suburbs, y'all are real coons. Because y'all are uneducated, and nobody can speak this ghetto shit better than I can. So that's why I say on my page, it's better to hear it from the horse's mouth, gamin, because I lived through this shit, been in this shit, and I know exactly what I'm talking about. Most of these guys' videos y'all watch, these guys claiming they rich and from the suburbs, why would you even listen to any fucking thing they have to say? We know they full of shit. Take it from somebody that's been living in the shit, living through the shit. I done been shot and survived all of that shit. I done done all of that stuff that these guys claim they want to be and want to do. So I know when I speak it, I can walk in it and I can talk it because I lived it. So, if I'm not going to stand here and scream victimization and scream 40 acres in the mule, then the rest of you black motherfuckers got to quit screaming that same shit and realize that if we going to ever become something in this society, ever become something in this world, we got to first take accountability for ourselves. Then we got to learn to love other people of ethnicities and quit blaming other people as the reason we became a failure in this country as black men and black women.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Man. Woo! Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. See, that's one thing that I could totally respect about you. And here, everybody needs to understand something. Okay, he's kind of like Becky and I. He's putting a bullseye on himself. For any of you that don't realize it, he's putting a bullseye on himself. He's pretty much calling it like he sees it, and calling it like it is. But see, now he's got to be able to call it like he sees it and calling it like it is, and be able to walk around his neighborhood. I mean, he puts his videos out. He's not scared to put out the videos. And and tell it pretty much how he feels and how it is, and that you got to be putting a big bullseye on yourself, but I don't think you're too worried about it. Sounds like you ain't too worried about it. So
I ain't worried about it.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Fuck Black Lives Matter. That shit don't mean nothing until they start addressing black on black crime.
Well, here, let me ask you a question. Okay, now, they've been putting out these videos left and right. I don't know if you've seen it from this King, whatever the hell his name is, and then you see it from Farrakhan, you see it from this one and that one, and, Farrakhan keeps acting like he's speaking for the Latinos, like he's speaking for the Native Americans. We've got some people right now that are in Arizona that are protecting veterans because the vets were getting robbed. They're homeless veterans. They have no place to live. They're living on the streets. Okay, they were getting robbed. These thugs and punks and stuff are coming up and robbing them and shit, and then they can't really protect themselves. Well, while they were out there protecting them, somebody tried to carjack somebody around a bunch of armed patriots. You must be out of your mind. The kid got caught, and you see in the video while they're talking, the kid's on the ground, the cops got him caught and everything else. But the thing that I'm trying to talk about now is the Native Americans came out there and thanked the Patriots for going after John McCain because, you know, they were all in Arizona because they wanted to approach John McCain, and they have to stumble upon this, you know, veteran row of homeless people that were, you know, outside and, you know, they don't have no place to go and this and that. So all these patriots came together, you know, got water, got, you know, whatever, all the necessities, food and stuff like that for the homeless people, got them clothes, you know, whatever they could do, and people started pouring in donations, and then they started telling their stories about, you know, they were getting robbed, you know, having problems from punks in the neighborhood and everything. So these guys have been out there for, I don't know, I'm just going to use a number. I don't remember the exact amount of days. I think it's like been 10 days that they've been out there protecting them, and they're staying in the environment just like they are. But now the natives came forward and said, thank you for going after John McCain because he's trying to take more native land in Arizona from the natives. But Farrakhan acts like he's speaking for the natives, and then Farrakhan goes out and says all these bikers, you know, from the 2 million biker rally that's going to be going into Washington on 10/10. They're going there, you know, to stand up for the American flag and everything. And Farrakhan had the nerve to come out with a video saying, I want to thank all the bikers that are going to be coming there for me, you know, because I had some people go out and get them to come for me. And, you know, they're going to be coming to help us take down the American flag and this and that. And, you know, the people from that organization had to go, is this guy out of his mind? You know, we ain't going there to help him or whatever. So, I mean, you know, Farrakhan's got a lot of nerve. You know, he comes out here and does all these videos and everything. He has his people do the videos, making threats. You know, on 9/11, they're going to do this. They're going to go to Georgia and try to pull, you know, Stone Mountain, Georgia, try to pull down the Confederate flag, the American flag, and this and that. And then on 10/10, they're going to go into Washington. They're going to go to White House and pull down the American flag, whatever. All they're doing is getting the Black Panther Party geeked up, you know, getting the Nation of Islam, you know, getting them out of hand, getting this, getting that, and, you know, inciting stuff. But see, I have seen a lot of black people that came forward and said, look, you know, I believe in all these things, but I don't believe in the violence that this man is promoting. You know, I mean, what do we do? What do we do against somebody like that? I mean, how do we stand up to him? You know, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And before you answer that, brother, I want to give out the phone number because I know that we've got people that want to call in. And let's give out the number, you know, questions, comments. If you want to debate, if you want to rebut, that's all good. If you become disrespectful, we will shut you down in a heartbeat. And I like how you put it. If you come with the fuckery, we're going to get rid of you. So 929-477-3565. 929-477-3565. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, Bobby. I've got a caller on the line. Gamin, I'm sorry to cut you off like that. Stu Pedasso is on the line. Hey, Stu, how you doing? Hello, Stu. Stu, can you hear me?
Yeah. I just got into a bad spot, so I think I might have to call back.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because it sounds like you're breaking up, brother. If you can you call back into the show when you get out of that area?
Yes.
Okay, that'd be great. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Gamin. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I just wanted to say, you know, I don't want to, how can I say this? I don't know every listener's preference out there, religious beliefs. Mine personally, you know, like I said, I commit my sins. You know, I'm a sinner, and I do believe the Bible. I believe in God. And let me just say this right here to try to sum up what I'm trying to get to quickly. Okay, the Bible teaches you to follow after an individual named Jesus Christ. The Bible teaches you that if you put all your might, all your trust, all your, you know, power into following Jesus, that you'll become a changed man, that you'll become a changed individual, that you'll be a new creature. Okay, that's what the Bible teaches us, okay? The reason I'm using the Bible in this reference right here is because when you look at all of these other leaders of these other organizations, none of them truly follow after Jesus Christ. Okay, now I say that to say that the Bible teaches us, that when we don't follow Jesus, that we follow in our own heart, that we follow in our own desires. And we already know, according to the book, when we follow our own heart and our own desires, that's what get us in trouble and get us off the track of following Jesus, so the Bible says. So when you look at Farrakhan, when you look at the Jesse Jackson, when you look at all of these people who constantly put money before the poor people in this country, then you can make a clear determination what kind of fruit that tree is bringing forth. Farrakhan wants to say that he's bringing forth good fruit. Well, when the last time he took up an offering and went around and tried to revamp the ghetto cities of America? When the last time he took up an offering and tried to buy mothers, of children who can't afford a car? When have he went around to, not just black neighborhoods, but just, minorities in general in this country and try to share any love, any insight, as to what we can do to become one in this country and become better? From what I read and studied about the Nation of Islam, they like to believe that white people were in the caves of Europe at one time and, white people were just these uncivilized beasts that didn't even know how to use the bathroom or didn't even know anything about civilization until, some black, people came along and showed them, you're supposed to eat this way, you should eat upright and all of these things, There's no scientific proof whatsoever to back up that theory. There's none whatsoever to back that up. And so, it's like I said in the video, if you want to call somebody a devil, what do you call these black men who shoot each other up every day with these semi-automatic assault rifles? And, just to get back to where I started with the whole Jesus thing, it go for me too. When we don't follow after, what the book tells us we should do, which is pray daily, which is sometimes, neglect eating sometimes so we can be in prayer and fast and communicate with the Spirit. When we don't do that, we get into our own self. When we follow our own rules, our own laws, and our own emotions begin to take over, and those become what we think, and our emotions become more important than what, Jesus would tell us that we should be doing at the time. Like an example is that without his power in you, it's almost impossible for you to have love for your enemy. Now, when the scriptures say, you can love your enemy, I will tell you that if you are in the Spirit and you are in Christ, he gives you the power to actually love your enemy. That's why he said in the scripture that prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemy, because he gives you that much love to be able to love your enemy that you can sit down with a table prepared in the presence of your enemy. Now, if Farrakhan was following after this doctrine, if the Bible is so wrong, if Christianity is such a slave doctrine, if Farrakhan was following this doctrine, then he could have the love in himself to forgive white people and quit blaming white people for the reason that black people are just sorry as fuck. It's not white people's fault that black people choose to sell dope. It's not white people's fault that black people make the mistakes they make, man. And I can't say that enough because, like I said, I'm speaking from experience. I was a black man and had that same mindset at one time. But I broke out of it, man, and I'm thankful that I did. But I say that to say you got all these leaders, Al Sharp and Jesse Jackson. These guys, man, don't truly follow after the Bible. They really truly don't follow after any kind of religion whatsoever but their own self and what they think they can get out of it for monetary gain. That's why you can't get their participation whenever you're trying to do something positive for the community. But you can always get their participation whenever a cop kills somebody or whenever a minority take a black person's life. You can always find Al Sharpton or you can always find them fools there ready to represent. But, I say all that because to mention that these guys don't follow any kind of religion, man. They claim that they do, but if you really study what they believe, they don't follow any religion, and it's clear at the end of the day.
Hey, Becky, somebody's got a lot of background noise.
I think that's Stu. He's joined us. I've tied him back in. Stu, if you roll up your car window, I think you're driving, buddy, aren't you?
Okay, I turned
there
the car.
You go.
Is that better?
That's way better.
Welcome
to the show, Stu. Stu, our guest today is young Gamin. Say hi to Mr. Gamin, and Bobby, my co-host, is on. Bobby, this is my buddy, Stupid Asshole.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How you doing?
Who you calling stupid asshole?
No, right? Hey, Stu, welcome to the panel. Brother, we'd like your input. Have you been able to listen to the show up to this point, or have you been driving?
Well, I've been on the road, and it's a little bit here and there. I've because of reception and whatnot, dropped the call a couple times. But real quick, the last guy that was just talking, when he mentioned the Bible and religion, I'd like to make a point, and I've been trying to push this on to everybody. I've posted about this on Facebook and made little videos about it. And this is going to probably tick everybody off, because I don't believe that there is any one particular religion out there. I don't care what it is, whether it's Jehovah's Witness. I was born and raised Catholic, but I don't believe in Catholicism at all. I think it's the biggest crock of crap out there. No offense to anybody, but I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm here to tell the truth and say it how it is. Not one word in the Bible, there's not anything in the Bible that makes reference to Baptist, Catholicism, Jehovah's Witness. Heck, that's a really young religion in itself, and it's split up a couple times. You know, you got all these different religions. The key is they're man-made. And a lot of people consider Christianity a Christian. No, it's simply believing in Christ. It's not a religion whatsoever. I believe in Christ, therefore I'm a Christian. Okay? That is very important that people grasp this concept, because they all think that they're right. And they all have different ways of doing things. I tell everybody, you got 10 couples. This is how I explain it. You got 10 married couples. You think any one of them couples has a right to tell the other 9, hey, you're doing your marriage completely wrong. You guys don't know what the hell you're doing. Our marriage is the correct way to have a marriage. Now, when I use analogies like that, people start to get it, and they start to grasp it. Every individual out there, if you want to put it in this way, should have their own religion with the Lord, basically their own relationship. I shouldn't have to tell anybody what time to kneel, sit down, stand up, what song they sing, what time to sing that song. You know, you can have your own relationship just like, you know, every person you know. You have a different relationship with each person. Not one relationship you have with anybody is exactly the same. And that's the way it should be with our Lord. So that's
valid point, Stu. I understand completely, and I actually had I engaged an individual in that very argument today. I called it a debate, but she wanted to take it to the next level, and it was in the chastisement and the judgment that we're all, you know, Gamin has made some very valid points. You know, judgment comes by action. Mm-hmm. But God gave us instruction not to judge another, you know, whether it's a gay person or a black person or a white person. We are not, because when judgment comes, that's when discord comes, and that's whenever we have strife between each other. And so I think that if you're walking in that relationship and you're interpreting God's word as to what he's putting in your heart, I believe, by my own accord and experience, that I don't need a man at a pulpit to tell me how to love my God. I don't need a man at the pulpit to interpret the Bible to me and by his own perception.
Exactly. You have your own relationship with God. Now, God encourages us, he tells us in his word to have fellowship. There's nothing wrong with that. And come together in the Lord's name, you know, and to have fellowship. And then, you know, we're supposed to be fishers of men, correct? Well, yes. I have my own way of doing it. I saw a video yesterday. A friend of mine was showing me this video. Her cousin is gay. I mean, married to a man and everything, right? And he was at some kind of ordeal where they had a bunch of gay folks there, and then they had a bunch of people that were straight, and they were basically, the guy that was on the side of the people that were straight, he was speaking through his speakerphone, yelling at them, telling them that they're wicked, telling them that if they don't change their ways, that they would go to hell. And you know what? That's fine and dandy. That's his way of doing things, but I don't think that's the way to get results. And I've told this people many times. If you want to teach somebody, you teach them by being an example, okay? And, yeah, you do want to spread the word, but here's the thing. If somebody's not interested in it, it's like you're like clapping with one hand. It's not going to work. And, you know, I have a lot of friends on Facebook, And the things that I rant about, the things that I talk about when it comes to politics, it's like I'm already speaking to the choir. I don't have any Democratic liberal friends on my Facebook. So, it's like I'm telling the same thing to what all the other patriots already know. And the thing is, like any of these radio programs, if we don't have a listening to it, how are they going to learn? Most of your listeners are just like anybody else, or people that watch CNN. Most of the people that watch CNN are liberals. Most of the people that watch Fox are conservatives. So the thing is to teach the other side, but you also got to teach them by example. And talking to somebody about it that's not interested does absolutely no good, or if they're set in their ways. If people come to me and they ask me about the Lord or Jesus or the Bible, I tell them, you know what? I would be afraid I would tell you the wrong answer. If you want to know, open up the Bible and search it out yourself. You seek and you shall find. Knock on the door will be open. You know what I mean? I know a few little things by memory that just like everybody else does, but there's some folks that have the whole dang thing memorized, and I'm not that guy. So I tell them, you want to learn or you want to know more, open up the Bible, and that's how you're going to learn.
Well, we've got such a corruption, and religion is a very big part of what's going on here today. Gamin was talking about, and Bobby, I don't know if you caught that, they were talking about the Nation of Islam and the beliefs of Islam. There's always a political agenda behind it. Terry Dodd did a really interesting show last night, and I missed it last night and listened to part of it today. And Red was on there. He's written a book about it, about how at some point in the 70s, the political agenda weaseled its way to the pulpit. And the churches being hoarded out by way of that 501(c)(3) status that they enjoy as an exception for taxation based on being compliant with controlled information, if you will, not to talk about certain political things at the pulpit, or they'll lose their exemption. And it's really a travesty because we are in a spiritual battle here, guys. We really are. This is, we wrestle not with flesh and bone, but with principalities and darkness and in dark places, and that's where we are. And the heart of man is just so hardened and corrupted.
What I see the problem is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. As a people, we're really suffering spiritually. We are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The main problem that I see is too many people are looking at this from a worldly perspective instead of a spiritual perspective. This isn't about who's going to be in the next election and who's going to be in office and how we're going to get our country back. People, I'm telling you, the end is near. Prepping with water and food and ammo is only going to get you so far, because when God's plagues come, none of that stuff is going to save your ass. What you need to prep is your soul, and that's how you're going to get saved. Now, of course, by God's grace and mercy. But everybody, so many folks out there, and they're prepping for the wrong thing. There was a movie that I saw earlier this year, as a matter of fact, and I haven't been watching as much movies as I used to because I'm not into supporting Hollywood anymore. But there's still some that spark my interest, and I forget the guy's name. Christopher Bale, the guy that did Batman, I think. He played Moses, and I can't remember the name of the movie. But when I saw how well they did the plagues of that time in Egypt, they did a great job of depicting the plagues. Now, whether they were accurate or not, whatever. But point being is, if that's even anything like what it's going to be in the end times, you think your AR-15 is going to help you? You think your 3 months of water is going to save you? You know what? We're not trying to save our life, our flesh. We're trying to save our souls for an eternity. And, I have a hard time with it, just like I see a lot of other people. It's like, am I supposed to just sit down? If the enemy comes here, I've gone through so many scenarios of how this is all going to go down. I personally don't see Iran dropping a nuke on us. I see them wanting to infiltrate. We got all these FEMA camps on our soil, okay? There's a reason why those are all there. And they can house so many people and so many, these plastic containers that can hold everything all up. It doesn't make sense to me that Iran would want to do this. Iran wants to nuke Israel. They want to knock them off. Come here, infiltrate us, kill us, or those who comply. Okay, those are the three options. Just like our military, in the days of
Stu, we've lost you, brother. If you can, call back in. Gamin, I'm going to turn the floor back over to you. We've lost Stu again.
Okay. And I wanted to ask what he
brother.
was saying. Me personally, I'm gonna try to see. Let me see. I don't want to get deep in this, but I'm gonna tell you. Me personally, I'm gonna tell you where my personal experience and my study and my estimation led me about the church. I came to a conclusion: the church has gotten off track the minute that they put a pastor pulpit and the people began to praise and worship the pastor. Now, what I mean by that is, if you go look at the book of Acts, when the church first got started, and when these people first received the Holy Ghost, and when they all went out on their mission, once they immediately all received the Spirit, the Bible said that they all thought alike, that they all had the same things in common because they were all a part of the same Spirit of God. Now, when these people received His Spirit, they went and sold their homes, they went and sold whatever cattle, they went and sold whatever possessions that they had that belonged to them, because the Scripture said they clearly understood that what they had now did not belong to them anymore, but that it belonged to God. And so, therefore, Peter was the number one apostle that was over the rest of the apostles, and everybody brought what ownership or possessions they had to Peter's feet. And Peter distributed all of the possessions to the people as each person had a need. If you needed, some shekels to go buy you some garments, that's what he gave you. If you needed some shackles for some sandals, that's what he gave you. They distributed the money equally. Now, when you look at the current church today, it's not ran that way. The way the church today is ran is you have the pastor. He sits up there with his wife. The church supports his Cadillac he drives. The church supports his 2015 Range Rover that he drives. The church supports his $100,000 split of a duplex that he lives in. The church buy all of his wives nice big fancy flower hats that she wears. The church pays for all of the pastor's vacations. It was never supposed to be that way. God has set the church up with the intentions for the church to be for the people, not just for the pastor to have his anniversary celebrated 3 or 4 days out of the week, not for the wife to have her birthday celebrated 3 or 4 days out of the week. We all are supposed to be equal, and we all supposed to have the same alike mind if we truly are a part of the same spirit that the early church was a part of when they first began to do the works of Jesus. You look at the current setup of the church today, it's not like that. All the praise and worship is going towards the pastor. The pastors are up here preaching. They wearing nice suits. They driving nice cars. And they got people in the congregation who driving cars that's about to fall apart. People on the bus stops who can't even afford to buy a car to get to their jobs that they need to get to, but yet this pastor wants them to get their tithes every week, every month. To me, that's when the church first got off track. And, with that being said, it allowed room for all kind of other lies to infiltrate. And we see it when we look at the church today. This is a big reason a lot of people will not attend churches today, because the same way the Bible tells us the church ought to be ran, preachers today don't run the church that way. It's a scripture in the book that tell you that, whenever you conduct God's business, you should always have another witness with you so no one can say, well, he said this or she said that. You look at these pastors today, they want to take your wife in the office and talk to your wife about personal life, what's going on at home, and if the woman not smart, she'll sit there and spill all her business over to that man just because he has the title of pastor. Well, if a pastor wanted to do things the proper way, he would say, look, I'm going to bring my wife in the office with me, or he would say, look, Brother Gamin, you come in the office with me while I talk to your wife,
And, then things can be dealt with and handled properly instead of rumors being put in the air over he been in the office with his wife for 2 hours now. I wonder what they talking about. See, the church don't run itself or operate itself nothing like the early church did when the apostles first got the Spirit. Do we still wear sandals today? Do we still wear these kind of garments and clothing that they wore back then? No. We're living in the modern world, 2015, 21st century. But nevertheless, when you look at the current setup and structure of the church, it's set up to where it just completely chokes off the Spirit of God. All you see is a bunch of flesh override what God really want to do with the churches, and therefore you have churches that's all out of order. And, Jesus makes a very important statement in the book of John, or you can find it in Matthew, or you can find it in Mark, and he makes this statement. He said, if a man don't love if a man love his wife, love his father, love his children more than me, he cannot be my disciple. And what he meant by that was not that he wants you to literally hate your wife, literally hate your children, and literally hate people that's in your life, but he wants you to put him first. Because when you learn to put his ways first and you become intertwined with his ways, that's how you become a better person. It's the same thing when they was in the book of Exodus and they used to commit sin and they used to have to offer God all these sacrifices and all these different offerings for the sins they was committing. God would come down in the holy temple and he would be like a cloud or a pillar of smoke, and the people could have communion with God. But today we don't have to sacrifice animals in order to have communion with God. All we have to do is confess that we are sinners and that we believe that he rose Jesus from the grave, and therefore God will become one with us and we'll be in communion with him. The scripture said that when a man do so, that Jesus and God would come to that man and that they would dwell with him and they would all be one. Because if you read Jesus' words all the time, the only thing he kept stressing was that I and the Father are one. I'm not speaking of myself, but I'm speaking of him that sent me. And when you truly follow in Christ and you truly in communion with him, when you truly have a relationship where you put him first before you put other things first, then he becomes a part of you. He becomes a part of your fabric. He becomes a part of your inner workings. Thus it becomes easy to love your enemies. But when we don't follow this path, we follow our own flesh, and we already know where the flesh gets us. We let our own emotions override sometimes reason, and we make bad choices. We make bad decisions. But nevertheless, me personally, I just don't think society will ever get back to the point to where we really want to be one or harmonize with each other. And the reason not to say that and state that is because, the book already tells us that men are just sinners, and that nothing can cure this sin in a man's heart except for his love for Jesus Christ. Just because he stopped eating pork don't mean that he's not going to commit another crime. Just because he stopped eating pork don't mean that he's not going to have sex with a woman he shouldn't have. But the book tells you that if you put Jesus first, that he gives you strength to overcome all of these physical things that ail us in this current world that we know as today. And so I think that, I'm not going to say you have to have a certain time that you put your relationship with Jesus first, but he do demand that he become first before any spouse, before any child, before any job, before any money, before your car, before your favorite football team, before your favorite basketball team, before your favorite meal. He's supposed to come first. And once we truly put him first, this go for me too. Because I'm a sinner and I make mistakes. But when we truly put him first, it becomes easy to do the things he asks us to do. It's just that plain.
Man, amen. That was a powerful message. Bobby, we've got a caller, Bill Bohart. I've opened up the mic. Brother, welcome to Rage.
Hey, good evening, Becky.
Today, sir?
Bobby. Good evening.
Welcome aboard, brother. Good to hear your voice.
Glad to hear you, Young. I'm going to hand it to you, brother. You got the balls to get out there and kick them in the balls where they need it. I appreciate all that. I just wanted to call in real quick. I don't have a whole lot to add because, quite frankly, you're covering all the bases. Before when you were saying about the folks have been on welfare for 30, 40 years, and I can't agree that it's the government's fault. Well, let me put it like this. I'm not going to blame the government because the government's just doing what governments historically and typically do. They're creating, what I refer to as minions, sheep that they can herd and control. And the more of these people they get on their, I call it a payroll for welfare, the more powerful they become. The more I don't know. It's kind of like a following they create. But I mean, other than that, man, dude, you're nailing it. You're absolutely nailing it, and I got a whole lot of respect, and thank God you're around to come out and just tell it like it is. Thanks, brother. Just thank you, and God bless you.
Oh, same to you, brother. You're welcome.
Well, Gamin, brother.
Yeah, I was just going to give a little bit of feedback about Bill Bohart.
Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Bobby.
no, Bill is a very, very, very knowledgeable caller that we have. Actually, he's not even a caller, I wouldn't say. I would say he's more like part of the team because, you know, he's always got so much insight to share with us, and you know, he was pretty much doing his own thing, and, you know, a lot of people have asked him to be, you know, part of their shows and stuff before, and, you know, he's actually married to somebody that also brings, you know, a lot of good news and a lot of the truth and everything else. So, you know, we always encourage to have people, positive people that bring the truth. I mean, we welcome them here, you know, and we don't see any color. I mean, sometimes people will call up and, you know, they'll have a little bit of rage about different things. That's why we call ourselves Rage Against the Regime. But, you know, everybody's main issue is with, you know, the regime itself, which would be the government. I mean, we wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't have these problems or anything else if we didn't have a tyrannical government. I mean, it's plain and simple. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I like to refer to them as the oligarchs that are acting as a government. And I guess Bobby and Becky both testify. If I don't have a whole lot to add, well, that's just very unusual. We'll say that. Because, you're
yes,
you're nailing it, brother. You're absolutely nailing it. I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of unusual.
I'm speechless. I really am.
Yeah. Actually, Bill D would be a good one to add to this too. You know, he would probably be the same thing. You know what? I'm kind of speechless right now, and he's another one that's never speechless. But yeah, no.
You know,
so go ahead, Gamin. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
You know, man. It's. Let me see. How can I say this? You know, I look around, man, and I ask myself, where can I start? You know, where can I start with the people in my community? You know, what can I say to them? You know, what kind of information can I provide or lay out to show them, you know, that, look, this is what we need to be doing as a group of people in this community. Because, you know, I see these stores, you know, that the Arabs run on the corner. And, you know, they don't give a damn about black people, man. You know, inside their stores, they sell, you know, they sell paraphernalia to weigh drugs. They sell paraphernalia to bag drugs. They sell all kind of sexual pornography movies. And the people that's going in and out of these stores are children. There's anywhere from 9, 10, 11, 12. And if an adult is not looking, they'll sell your child a pornography movie, you know, over the counter. If the parent is not looking, they'll sell your child beer or whatever they think they can get away with. And the reason I say this is because, you know, I'm trying to figure out where can I start with the black people in my community. What kind of knowledge, what can I tell them to show them that, look, we need to be boycotting these stores. You know, you can't blame white supremacy for an Arab-owned store sitting on your corner, because if you truly hate that store, if y'all felt that something was wrong with the pictures, you know, we could come together, we could boycott these stores, and once we start taking money out of their pockets, then they'll begin to listen. But, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, you know, I'm almost, you know, I don't want to say hopeless, but in some kind of way, that word does tend to roll off my tongue, because where do you start with the Negro? What do you tell him? What do you show him to get him to try to, you know, open his eyes and wake up and realize that, look, we should be boycotting these stores. We shouldn't be allowing these black pastors on each one of these corners with a church to continue to take money from the people that go there and don't put the money in refurbish, you know, revamp the ghetto communities. You know, it's a corner store, a church on every corner. You almost can't walk 2 blocks before you run to a church. And so, you know, what are these pastors inside these churches doing for the black community? You know, this is something that I've been thinking about, you know, because I want to see, you know, the community and the places where I'm from stand up and take a stand against this, you know, and
I went so far, I prepared a speech. I wanted to go to City Hall and, take this speech to City Hall. And I wanted to share my concerns with City Hall, about these stores being in our community. But I just had a really bad feeling about doing it, and I really did. And I'm going to share the feeling that I had. The feeling that I had about doing that and me having a family, and my children and stuff, with me, I'm not going to say I became scared, but I almost kind of had a bad feeling about it, a bad feeling to the point where I felt like, I'm just one guy. Who am I? These Arab owners, once they get wind that I'm at city council, that I'm, expressing my views about why I don't like their stores in our community, it don't take much for one of them to go ahead and pay one of these little stupid-ass Negroes and say, look, I'm going to give you $2,000. Just go fucking shoot that nigga shit up and kill him. That crossed my mind because that's the shit black people would do. When you try to stand up and make a stand in a damn community and tell them shit that's hurting them and show them a way that can help us get out of this shit or help them get out of it, they'll turn around and fucking kill you for it. And so that was a problem that I wrestled with, man, for a long time. Like, should I stand on that? Should I propose this to City Hall, and deal with the beef, later? That really bothered me. So I say that to say, where do you go with the Negro? What do you tell him? How do you get him to rise and wake up?
Well, did you ever come up with an answer?
Man, you know what? Those answers, man, I ain't come up with one yet. I don't want to say it's hopeless, but, man, like I said, where do you start, man? Because black folks are so easily led in the wrong direction but hard to lead in the right, man. I know this from experience, from my prison experience, from being in a cell block with 95 grown men. That was one of the worst experiences that I could have ever experienced, but it also made me a man as well, It just made me tougher. It made me tougher all the way around, mentally, physically. I had a lot of, time to study different religions in there and to, try and figure out what's the best route, that I need to take for me, to make my situation better and to be a better example to others, So, like I said, I don't want to say it's hopeless, but, man, I can just tell you a line that the great Tupac said himself. He said, to tell you the truth, he said, it's hopeless. He said, there ain't no hope for the youth. The truth is there ain't no hope for the future. Then they wonder why we crazy. I blame my mother for turning my brother into a crack baby. We ain't meant to survive because it's a setup. You need to know your setup.
Tupac.
You got to still keep your head up. And so, it's just, at the end of the day, man, everybody got to take accountability for their actions, man. Me personally, I'm of the mindset now, if you think like me, we brothers. I don't care if you're white, Hispanic, Mexican, Latino, Puerto Rican. If you think like me, then we brothers from a different mother. That's just what I say. I roll with that mother.
That's absolutely right. Well, all God's children, brother. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
What did you say, Bill?
I said we're all God's children. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, in God's eyes, and that's the way we have to treat each other. This racial division is by design. It's I'm not going to say it's a conspiracy, but it's a plan. It's a plan to keep us infighting. Hell, the conservative communities and the liberal communities, which I don't really like that word liberal, but the progressive, they just keep us all fighting amongst each other so we can't get organized and do the right thing for each other. It's just there's so much out there. It's time to put all that to rest and get real, Get real and get over all the bullshit, I can't blame anyone for my the history of my bloodline or my ancestors. And I'm damn sure not going to sit here and be guilty for the shit that some of my ancestors did. All I can do is try to do the right thing and think about what is right, and that's a really easy thing to figure out. And I suggest people to get right with their Lord and their Creator. And reading the Bible is a good guide, but it's really easy just to sit back and say, look at the big picture. Before you do something, put yourself on the other side. How would you feel if that was done to you? and you can pretty much tell right or wrong, just from how you would feel if you were on the receiving end. So it's really pretty easy, you know. And man, you know, this race thing is just, it's ridiculous. It really is. We weren't born to hate each other. We just weren't born that way. It's a learned behavior, and it's a practice behavior. And we as individuals are the only ones that can break that stigma or that cancer or that sickness. It's really an illness. You know, color just really doesn't matter. And religion and nationalities, that's all the same. It all falls in the same category. It's time, but we had better wake up and stop bickering amongst each other, because we got bigger, better things to worry about coming our way. Well, it's already on us. You know, we've got an oligarch that you know, they just want to do what they want when they want, and they don't give a shit about the law or us. So we had better get our act together and stand up and be counted. And Young, that's what I see you doing, brother. And you've got my total attention and respect, because you're nailing it. You're nailing it to the wall. It's just, I'm blown away. I am. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I yield.
I love
well,
it.
You know,
I absolutely love it, man. I can love it. Go ahead, brother.
I had to take accountability, and, you know, like I said earlier, you know, man, I know for a fact, man, this white woman smacked my son. I know for a fact she smacked him. When I see these pictures of my son every day, I got to, you know, see his face on these photos that we took. I know that lady smacked my son. I know she did. And for the simple fact that I went to meet with the district attorney, the chief of police, I went through every chain of protocol that I could go through, all the way up to the FBI. And to have them tell me that, you know, they don't think she smacked him, I could have went the hell off. I could have left out of there. I could have wanted to try to shoot every white person that I felt I should have. But I didn't do that, because I know it's a consequence behind my actions, behind my decisions. I didn't do that. And so, you know, that's something that I'm still battling. I'm still fighting it today, but I'm not out blaming white people for the choices that the district attorney made for me. I'm not out trying to choke the hell out of every white person I see and blame them because my mammy ain't no fucking good and don't want to speak to me and, you know, don't care much about my children. I can't make her, you know, want to do those kind of things. That's between her and God. But I say that to say that, you know, it's a dysfunction, you know. And I'm not blaming nobody for, you know, her being a shitty mother. I can't blame neither one of y'all. I can't blame nobody on YouTube. I can't blame nobody. I can just, you know, do what I've been doing and keep moving forward. And, you know, whatever come her way in the end, it will come. But I'm not the only person that has a mother like that. There's a lot of black kids that got mothers like that. Some white people got mothers like that, too. But just because you got a mother like that don't mean that you can go out and act like a goddamn savage and think at the end of the day the police ain't supposed to lock your black ass up, because it don't work that way.
You know, brother, I have to make an observation here. You keep mentioning this teacher that hurt your son, but you continue to make point that she's white. Wouldn't you be as angry regardless of what color she is? And by making that statement, are you trying to say that she only did it because he was black? Or
no,
I don't understand.
No, I'm making that statement to show the listeners, you know, the people that's listening, especially blacks, that, you know, although the lady that assaulted my child was a white lady, I'm still not going out blaming other white people for it.
I see.
Right.
I get what you're saying. Because she's one fucked up individual, and you're more of a man than I could be a woman, because I'm going to tell you right now, I am that person that probably would have walked in and put her on her ass and gone to jail for it. Not anybody else. I wouldn't have taken it out on anybody else. But, see, I come from child abuse, and I loathe child abuse. So that's one of my hot buttons, you know. Whether it's my child, your child, or anybody else's child, I hate child abuse of any kind. And I don't think I could contain myself, especially if I'd tried every legal avenue like you did to find justice and to have her removed. Is she still in a functioning capacity in that school?
Yeah, she's still in the school.
Still employed?
Yeah, she's still employed, teaching other people's kids.
Sue their ass. Sue their ass. She has no business holding that position. If she can't teach children and be patient enough with those children not to react in anger with violence toward a child, she has no business in that position. And, brother, if I could recommend this, I go directly to the school board and the superintendent. I wouldn't even mess with the principal. I'd go right around that asshole because she should have been removed, in my opinion.
Well, it's something we've been fighting for. It's something we've been fighting all year. You know, we got legal procedures and attorney and everything like that proceeding on it. But, you know, I brought that up to share that with the listeners because the point I wanted to make, you know, is to make sure they don't get it confused or twisted. And I'm going to say it again to make sure they understand. The reason I referenced the teacher being white and my, you know, child black and she hit him, you know, with the show individual is that, like I said, I'm not a racist individual. You know, although I know this lady talked my child after the district attorney telling me, well, I just don't see evidence that she hit him. I still held myself together. I didn't leave there and go shoot up the damn neighborhood, go burn CVS up, go.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't do that. I didn't call for destruction.
Now.
Yeah. So, you know,
I understand that, and I can respect that. I respect that about you, brother. I really do, because at the end of the day, she's a bad person, and you know, my hat off to you for handling it. Yeah, I can imagine.
It hurt because we know she fucked him, you know.
She's gonna hurt somebody else's kid. If she did that to yours, she's gonna hurt somebody else's baby.
Yeah.
End of the day.
So, you know, that was the understanding I just wanted to show people out of that, you know. You don't have to go burn up your own shit or loot CVS's where people need their medicine or none of the foolish shit we see black people do every time it come breaking news on CNN that a black teen's been murdered, or breaking news on CNN or black man been shot by a cop pulled over at a, you know, routine stop. Every time this shit happen, all they do is go raise shit, burn down shit in their own damn community, march like fucking slaves all up and down every damn avenue from one part of the damn United States to the next goddamn part. And then when you go do the damn research and study and see last year that 400-something black people was murdered, why didn't you have 400-something damn marches?
Yeah, good point.
Wow.
Good point.
And you know, they get mad at us and say, "Oh, y'all cooning over there for white people and trying to get views from white people." And you know, it's just illiteracy, man, that they can't understand when a black man tells them, "Man, my eyes have been open. I understand that this black-on-black murder in America that's taking place daily is not white people's fault. I can't sit and look at a white person in 2015 and try to hold them accountable for some shit that happened some damn 500 years ago. That person ain't had nothing to do with that shit."
Right.
Yeah, and you know, in the innocent lives that are being lost in this hate war, that is definitely being funded and with orchestration out of Washington. I like to call it the District of Corruption, and not the District of Columbia. And this oligarchy that has usurped our government. Our government has been taken over, and they're literally, in my opinion, and I'll be honest with you, I believe that the open borders for this invasion through Mexico, many countries have come through there. One border sector alone, the Laredo border, reported to me last year 43 different countries, nationals from 43 different countries came through that one sector alone. So many nations have poured through that border, with 1/4 of Mexico's entire population now in America sucking off the tit, with the rest of the welfare riders and the Muslims who are also sucking off the tit, and own a very large percentage of the small to medium businesses. Gamin, there's 60% to 65% now are owned by Muslims, 75% by foreign nationals that have come in. The government gives them free money and free businesses. That's why those Muslims own those stores, and they're tax exempt because according to Sharia law, they don't pay taxes, and our government has allowed that where you're being extorted to death and you're just trying to provide for your family. You know, they're taxing the hell out of you. But I believe with the recent Supreme Court justice subjugating the Constitution again, it's another subjugation, perversion, and downright ignoring the Constitution, saying that all foreign invaders, they call them illegal aliens, but I'll call them what they are, they're foreign invaders, now have the right to bear arms in our country while they're trying to take the rights of the American citizens' ability to defend and protect this nation and their families and their property. I believe that this black movement killed Whitey. Nobody's being arrested. None of the agencies are picking them up. Hell, even our military won't come to our rescue for the crimes against humanity. With the invaders taking up coalition, the Mexicans and the South Americans, the La Raza movement, Nation of Islam, and now the Muslim Brotherhood has announced that they too are supporting Black Lives Matter and Farrakhan and all this bullshit that's going on. I believe that Obama has finally created, with purpose, all this invasion, his very own brown shirts, much like Nazi Germany in World War II. The target there was the Jews. The target here is the white Judeo-Christians and patriots. And I believe that's why the Supreme Court just passed that ruling that these foreign invaders who we can't do a background check on are going to be able to purchase firearms in America. And that's
it's just like Obama when he said he's going to create his army that's going to be stronger and bigger than the other armies and all that. That's exactly what that is. It's the same damn thing. And that's all that he did. He created his army. He's doing it now. That's the Nation of Islam, FYF, so on and so forth. Name all of them. Black Lives Matter, whatever. It's all.
Yeah, we can't forget who's creating what. We all want to blame Obama. Yeah. He's just a puppet.
He's a puppet.
March 27th, 1861, the Congress adjourned Sendai. That means without date to reconvene. That's the day our constitutional republic died. This government we've got, the oligarchs, has been acting as a constitutional government. It's been a big facade of illusion that's been going on for 154 years now, and we have to be careful that we don't get sidetracked on who's creating what. Obama's just another puppet. He's a successful puppet. He's a brilliant guy. He's been very facilitating to the agenda to destroy the American creed, and I absolutely believe the American creed is based on Christ, and that's just my belief. It's very evident from if you read the Federalist Papers, you read our history and our forefathers what they tried to create. These people in the oligarchy, these people that are acting as government, they have no religion. They're not Zionists. They're not Jewish. They're not. And Islam is a tool. Islam is a handy tool. It has been for 5,000 years. And I want to address something that Young brought up about blaming what happened 200, 300, 400, 500 years ago between the races. White people need to take the same accountability. What's going on with Farrakhan and Sharpton and these guys today and this Black Lives Matter movement, we can't hold all black people accountable for that because it's not all black people doing it. It's actually a relatively small majority of organizers with a whole bunch of, and I'm going to use the word ignorant followers because they don't know any better. They cling on, they're very desperate to find answers and they really don't know what the problem is. They don't know who the true enemy is. So they grasp onto this movement out of ignorance. So, I think the white community has to take the same responsibility and not blame all black people for what a relative handful are doing. Muslims, that whole Islamic thing, I've read the Quran, so I know the truth of what's in that book of hate. to me personally, I don't see it as a legitimate religion. It's a cult. It's an evil death cult. But that's just me. But I wanted to put that in there, and I agree that the black community can't blame the whites for what happened 200 years ago. But in the same breath, we as a white community can't blame all the blacks for what's going on in the communities now. I mean, here we've got a man standing up. He's got the balls to say the right thing. He's telling it like it is. And who's listening? Who's listening? I commend you, Young, for doing what you're doing, man. But it's really hard to get that platform to get people to listen to you, which your YouTube channel seems to be doing really good. And you're doing all one man can do. And that's how we win this war. We got to get more men and women of all color, creeds, and races in there speaking the truth about what's going on.
Well, one thing that we got to look forward to next week, Bill, is next Friday, Young Gamin's going to join us again, and Battle Cat's coming on, Lena Pullum. So we're going to have Battle Cat, and we're going to have on Young Gamin at the same time. That's going to be a show.
That'll be rock and roll, yeah.
We've got Bill D. also on the line, guys. He wants to say a few things before we have to cut it off.
Well, hey, guys.
Come on in.
I'm back with my family and a new brother, Young. Young, I was pretty impressed, and it was nice to hear what you had to say today.
You're welcome, brother. Same here.
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody else has kind of touched a little bit on all of the other areas of interest that I have, and we started to go there, but you even got to a point where Bobby had asked you a question about how do we resolve this and get the people to wake up and make a stand to bring things together going forward. And you paused on that. And it's like that's almost a whole additional day. But right now, that kind of is where we're going, because Becky and Bill also discussed about our oligarchy. I've called it for the last several years the end stages of a coup d'etat to overthrow our country, which has been going on since the dates that Bill had mentioned, 154 years ago, with the hiding of the organic 13th Amendment, the first Esquire president who comes in, the guy that they labeled as Honest Abe, so that the greatest lies of American history could actually be hidden behind the actions of that guy. But here we are today with a racial circumstance that I never understood. I wasn't raised with racism, but I've seen it my whole life. Bob, you've lived within it your whole life. But it's at a point now where, as the Islamic nation against the Christian and every other race of the world is being used by these people who must overthrow America to keep the world, it's at a dangerous point now where we have to kind of figure a way to get everybody to stand together and stop the guys who would have us kill each other. Guys orchestrating this can own us all because of that. I've been saying for a long time it's time to actually take back our nation and restore the constitutional republic, which makes it difficult for me to get behind any kind of a presidential game. This is just ridiculous. We're going to elect a president to sit in the driver's seat of a remote-controlled vehicle that wants to crash us into a wall anyway. So how do we have a further conversation on how to bring us together so that we stand against those who would take us down?
Man, that's a long shot, man. That's why I'm kind of at a little bit at a loss for words myself about that subject, because I'm very rarely at a loss for words. But like I said, man, I ask myself over and over, where do you start? Where do you start? Because you could get 10,000 people to agree, but out of that 10,000, you probably gonna have one person that want to kill you for your agenda, because somebody else that paid him off to whack you off because they don't like what you push, and they realize what you push it can make a change. So where do you start? Who do you trust? This is a question that got to be asked. Yeah.
I mean, now we have to actually find a way to do something about it. I mean, because it's otherwise going to happen, and it's just it would be a shame. I just hope that enough good people stand together around those problems, because I know Farrakhan is going to make it a point to do the Sharpton thing, and that's take his message everywhere. Sharpton wanted everybody to riot and cause civil unrest. Farrakhan is going a step further and wants to encourage his new friends to have people kill other people. So it's kind of a different circumstance now. It's more urgent, it seems, that we actually do something about it. I talked with Bill Bohart earlier. You know, Bill and I have a lot of these conversations just between the two of us, and it's like we were trying to discuss what's the point that I wanted to bring up most about this? Well, I guess it kind of boils down to this. Nobody really wants the restoration of our country to have to occur because of a revolution. But in the long run, there's going to have to be some form of that anyway. It would be a shame for us to have a distraction of killing our brothers and sisters and each other from any color. I always wish we could discuss each other in silhouettes so that it was never a racial thing in the conversation anyway. But if there's the possibility that we might actually fight with each other that could lose us everything, why don't we then, if push is going to come to shove, to make a decision to stand together and just remove the head that would have us fight between ourselves instead? It might be time to do that to save each other from each other rather than just from them.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
know, well, most Americans are totally unaware about their government's wicked ways, and what I mean by that is, most Americans don't even understand that the United States government doesn't own the currency that we use. Most Americans don't understand that the United States don't even print the currency that it uses. Most Americans, once they understand that the Federal Reserve belongs to the wealthy families, it's a couple wealthy families that run the Federal Reserve. It's like 5 or 6 of them. You can go do your own research after this broadcast, and you'll go read for yourself. It's a video called He Who Controls the Money Controls the People. It's called He Who Controls the Money Controls the People. And in this video, they break down how the United States first made the dollar bill, how it came into existence, and where the idea first derived from. And what people will find out when they go research that video is that the United States of America is not even ran by the United States government, but they're ran by secret entities that we never hear of, that we never see, royal families from Europe, royal families from France. All of those people have influence in our American government, and it's an agenda that the government has now. We spoke on it several times. It's to turn everyone against each other, and most people don't realize right now there being underground bunkers being built with roadways that expand miles and miles and miles. So when anarchy or either martial law, when it happens up here on Earth, the government is already making bunkers where they can go hide themselves in. All the rich people can go hide themselves under the earth, and they're working in conjunction with Walmart, and they're building tunnels that go all the way from one end of the United States to the other end, and they can transport goods and services underground back and forth, while the rest of us are up here struggling and killing and fighting over food and for simple little necessities like water. This is where the government is trying to take us. Just go do your research about Walmart. Walmart was first started by a man named Sam Walton. That's why the name is called Walmart. His name is Sam Walton. And when you go read about Sam Walton, what you'll learn is that he's been working with the United States government, and he's very close friends with George W. Bush, and that this man's sole purpose for building Walmart, his sole purpose for building Walmart was to design a grocery store that looks like a FEMA camp, but in all actuality, they just got food and clothes, and they got merchandise in these warehouses. But when martial law comes, they're going to clear out these Walmarts and use them for FEMA camps. This is why they're being put in all the locations all over the world. This was a brilliant idea that Sam Walton was given, I'm going to say, by the devil years ago, that Americans didn't even see coming.
You know, it's funny. You're talking about underground storage and stuff. For decades, there were provisional precautionary measures taken for the survival of the American people by those still acting like servants. And that was that there was food storage, enough to sustain the American population for a year if we had natural disasters. It's interesting that we have no provisions for any Americans now, yet those provisions, underground, obviously, and it's always been that way. The storage has existed for, like I said, decades in caverns and man-made underground facilities all over America. So there is nothing left for us now, and yet there's everything in place for these others who have nothing to do with our proper representation. And that's why, we've always talked amongst us. This is the first time I've been on a show with you. But the rest of us here have been talking all along about this coup d'etat, these people pretending to be our government, this oligarchy that represents the banks and the industrial families who, in essence, are now one and the same. Because
exactly.
you were talking about the families that started with the Federal Reserve, and J.P. Morgan brought a lot of these guys together on his island a long time back. Which included the Rockefellers, and which obviously is the oil industries, but there's the parents above them, which are the petrochemical corporations who own most of Big Pharma and all of that. But the point is that, they're actually overthrowing our nation now, and the sooner that people start looking at that it's not just a matter of, well, we would like to limit you and have you live differently in America. It's that, no, we want your whole country because we're taking over the world, and the only way to have that is to control America. If they lose us, they will lose the grip on the rest of the world, and I think that's what we're at the point of happening right now.
Well, you know what? This has been one hell of a show. I mean, tons of knowledge, tons of truth. Young Gamin, I want to thank you so much, brother, for joining us. I cannot wait until next Friday to have you on, to have on Lena, or a.k.a. Battle Cat. Bill and Bill, you guys are always welcome here, you know that. And, we look so forward to some of the shows that we have planned in the future. We have a lot of things set up, and, we're trying to grow. We're trying to do some other things. I'm trying to get a call together with Casey Massey, where he might be able to get on the show with us one night, for a few minutes. If not, I'm still going to try to do some audio and get the audio together. But I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. We're already a few minutes over. Becky's got the grandkids. I'm almost home and everything else. Young Gamin, promised us that he would try to hold up as long as he can, and we're already taking more of his time than we probably we're probably already overdoing it with him too. So let's just call it ahead, and then let's adjourn here next Friday. Like I said, Lena, aka Battle Cat, will be on with us, and Young Gamin, and we're going to continue this. We didn't really get a chance to get to the phones, because we were covering so much and we were on a roll. But at least we got you and Bill and yourself on, which to us is very important callers. So. But I want to thank all of you gentlemen for joining us.
Thank you very much. Young, I'd like to stay in touch with you, man, if there's any way we can, through Becky or something, or Bobby.
Yeah, let me see. I'm going to put my email in my description box on probably my last video on the show promo. And if somebody want to email me or they got a question or anything like that, you can contact me through the email. I'm going to put it in the description box on the promo video that I did the other day. So if anybody want to contact me that way, they can contact me that way.
I will do. Thank you.
He's not a Facebook guy. He doesn't do Facebook.
That's cool, man. I'd rather keep it off Facebook anyway.
Cool.
Yeah,
I will get in touch with you, Young.
I don't use Facebook or Twitter, but I tell you, you can get in touch with Bobby. Bobby knows how to get in touch with me.
Yeah, I've got all of his information. So if you want, Young, I'll give them your information if you're allowing me to.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
Also,
thanks,
subscribe
man.
into your
Appreciate
YouTube
it.
also.
Okay.
Well, I wanted to say too, man. It was a pleasure, man. I appreciate y'all for having me as a guest on y'all's show, man. It was a pleasure.
That's awesome. Absolutely, brother. You're always welcome back here. I mean, you're like family here with us. I mean, we're like you said, we're all on the same, we're all on the same path here. We all need to come together as one. Forget all this racial diversion crap, and let's conquer the beast, because that's what we need to do. I mean, if we don't conquer the beast, we're never going to get anywhere, and we have to come together to be able to do that. So,
yes, we do.
Yep. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. So we're going to call it a wraps, and we will adjourn here next Friday. So,
hey, what was the female's name, Bob?
I'm sorry.
What was the female's name? Is it Becky?
Becky, yeah, Becky Williams.
Sir. Oh. I'm back.
Okay, I wanted to say it was nice to meet you too, Miss Becky.
Sir, it was my pleasure, brother, and I look forward to having you back often. It's really been informative.
Too.
What happened?
I said I feel that way about you too.
Oh yeah, baby. You tell me. I'm sorry. We're on air.
You're crazy again. All right, if we don't break it up, we're never going to break it up. So, all right, again, thank you, Young Gamin. Thank you, Bill Bohart. Thank you, Bill DiGirolamo. Thank you, Becky Williams. And until next time, this has been Rage Against the Regime. Huh?
Bobby, don't forget stupid asshole. Dude,
oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Early.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot. Okay, yeah, and thank you to everybody who's listened, and until next time, this has been Rage Against the Regime.
Okay, peace.
Y'all have a blessed weekend. Keep safe, keep your head on swivel, and may God bless you.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Rage Against the Regime Radio. Don't be a stranger. Please like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter @RATR Podcast. And feel free to leave some feedback whenever you listen to us. You can also email us at rageagainsttheregimepodcast@gmail.com.